Okay, hello everyone and welcome. This is Cures for a Holiday Spending Hangover. My name is Ben. I'm from Consolidated Credit Counseling Services of Canada, and I'm the Community Outreach Manager. With us is Jeffrey Schwartz, Executive Director here, and today we're going to talk about a common problem that we see with a lot of clients.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so overspending, it seems to happen pretty much every year. So this year, about 42% of Canadians overspent. As we can see here, the average amount across Canada was about $530. So what that means to me is that many Canadians had a budget and they budgeted to spend, X amount of dollars, but they actually spent much more than that. So where did this extra money come from? Well, most likely it came from some sort of debt or a credit card or something like that. Some even plan to go into debt to finance their holiday spending. So essentially, they've partied too hard and they have a spending hangover that's going to last well into January, maybe even beyond. So what can they do? Well, the first thing is, stop spending. Stop using credit, put the plastic away, maybe use cash for now. The frozen balances are going to be much easier to manage than ones that continue to grow or be added to. So like with any hangover, you need to stop what you're doing in order to feel better. So, if I have too many celebratory drinks during the holiday festivities, the morning after I'm going to feel terrible. So I'm probably going to cut back on drinking, at least for a few days anyway. Same goes if I eat too much candy and chocolate during a week of festive dinners with family and friends. I'm probably not going to feel too well after that. So, maybe I'll start eating healthier, maybe going to the gym or exercising, and maybe I'll start feeling better in the new year. But with credit, with debt, time after time, we keep seeing people taking the hair of the dog approach to their holiday spending hangovers. They fall deep into debt. They use those credit cards a little too much when they're doing their holiday shopping, and instead of cutting out credit cold turkey, they take more debt as a stopgap solution. Almost like having a Bloody Mary or a Caesar on Boxing Day. So your bank accounts, the credit card debt levels, those aren't going to change for the better unless you do. So it won't take any extreme measures, not going to take any overly detailed planning. But today we're going to talk about some smart ways to start small, and you can start making a big difference. So now I'll turn it over to Jeff, who's going to talk about how you can make a plan for this.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Like any great holiday party, if you don't start cleaning up the night before, there's going to be a big mess in the morning. And to be quite honest, nobody likes cleaning up the mess after a party, and having a hangover just makes it absolutely worse if you're going to wait till the next day. Holiday debt can quickly become uncomfortable messes too, so we should take some time to look at ways to clean them up. We want to start by looking at where you spent your money. In today's digital age, that's really never been easier. Start by looking at your mobile banking app. The expense tracking and budgeting software found in your pocket or purse has already done the work for you. Or you could head to your bank's website and log into your online banking and print out a specific date range of expenses, and then that's going to tell you where you spent your money. Or worst comes to worst, just go to a bank and ask a teller to print out copies for your statements. And some of the things that you want to look at are, well, how much did you spend on groceries in December? Or how much did you spend on decorations at the dollar store in November? Which gift cost you the most? What store was it at, and who was it for? A big reason why you need to start planning is so that you can see how much debt you have in dollars and cents, as well as where it came from. Then you'll be ready to set a smart goal. Now, by the way, paying off my holiday debt is not a smart goal. Getting specific and coming up with realistic numbers and timeframes will help you ditch this hangover now and in the future. So instead of trying to pay off my holiday debt, why not write down a smart goal? Try something along the lines of put an extra $50 on top of my Visa card's minimum payment this month with the money that I saved from not going out to all sorts of different types of entertainment. Now, can you afford that extra $50? If you found yourself with an outstanding debt from this year's holiday spending, then there's a good chance you don't even know. But don't worry. In this case, a budget can really be your best friend. So I'm going to throw it back to Ben to talk about putting a budget together.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. That really is, kind of the first step in any sort of financial situation is making a budget, sorry. So a common mistake we see is people trying to use last year's budget almost as a future planning tool for next year. So if that might be you, ask yourself when it comes to holiday spending, how did that plan go last year? If it went well, great. If it didn't go so well and you had a holiday spending hangover last year, then you're going to have to change this year. So if it didn't go well, or if like many other people, you never had a plan to begin with, that's a good sign. And now you can start from zero. Don't worry about not having a budget or not having the tools. First, use our budgeting tools to figure out your monthly expenses. So here we see, a quick breakdown. And I mean, these aren't hard and fast rules. This pie chart here is really more just of a guide. Do you find yourself within these sort of ranges? And I mean, some of these things can vary greatly depending on what city you live in, how much is food, that sort of stuff, if there's any dietary restrictions. But, these are some pretty good guidelines. So where are you spending your money? First, we want to use our budgeting tools to figure out the monthly expenses, and we roughly want to categorize those into a few different categories. So the first would be, your fixed expenses. It's the same every month. Every month, your rent, your car insurance, it's the same amount every month. Then we have things that are a little bit more difficult to track, flexible expenses. And those are expenses that might change season to season or month to month. This could be things like gasoline or medical expenses, maybe some vehicle expenses, that sort of thing. You're not getting an oil change every month, but you're probably getting an oil change maybe every 5 to 10,000 kilometers. So you need to have a plan for that as well. As well as any other, annual or semi-annual commitments you have. Maybe if you pay your car insurance annually or something like that. So if paying down debt is your goal, it's essential that you add your debt repayments as a line item in your budget. Like any other categorized expense, it'd probably be a fixed expense. If you have a little bit of extra cash, say $100, that $100 is a fixed expense, and it's in your budget, and it's going for the debt. It's not mandatory, but the next step might be prioritizing these expenses. That's going to help you kind of look for where you can save. So the best thing to ask yourself is this more important than that? Is paying my rent more important than going to restaurants? Probably. So those types of things can at least help you, identify where you might be able to save. So if you are going to a restaurant, or maybe you want to order Uber Eats, maybe that's more important than paying your internet or your cell phone bill. Is it? For most people, probably not. Is paying your rent more important than going on a Caribbean vacation? Probably. So your answers may not yield any earth-shattering results by doing that, but that's not what they're meant to do. They're meant to help you with two things. One, you understand where your money's going, and two, they help you understand how much of your money is going where. So you can find out things like how much do you spend each month on discretionary expenses? How much do I spend on entertainment? How much do I spend on restaurants? What did I spend on takeout food? How much are we paying for TV, internet, cell phone, that sort of stuff. So now you can see where your money is going, and you can see where you can start to save. What can you cut down? What can you cut out completely? That sort of thinking. The next thing you need to do is actually, start doing this. So that's where Jeff's going to come in. You need to start doing something today. So that's what we're going to talk about now.
Thanks, Ben. And really, there is no better time than the present. We could all wait until our statements come in and then decide and hem and haw about whether we're going to start that day or the next day after we received our statements. But the problem doesn't go away. You really want to start doing something today. While you've got the enthusiasm and the motivation, start today. And I know this can be tough for some, and it's not for everyone, but the facts are still the same. You need to do something, and really you need to do it now. Don't be tempted to just make the minimum payment on each bill. That's a trap, and it's only going to make your situation worse, as the majority of each minimum payment goes towards interest and fees that you may have incurred. It really does nothing to reduce the principal amount that you owe and have outstanding. Now, this happens a lot, and often people justify it to themselves by saying things like, I just need some time to catch up, or once work picks up again, I'll have no problem paying them off. This could be a time to start looking for some extra income. This could be any passive income you have received, such as bonuses or commissions, tax refunds, gifts, or inheritances. Or perhaps you're a little more proactive and willing to look for a second or part-time job drive for a car sharing service, or even sell some unused sports equipment, electronics, or other valuables. I mean, we all have these old cell phones or mobile phones, excuse me, mobile phones in our drawers tucked away, but they're worth money to somebody, and this might be an easy way to just grab some money and plunk it down against your debt. So whether it's $5 or $500 added to the minimum payment, try your hardest to save as much money as you can, using your new budget, of course, and put that towards your debt. Coming up with a plan of attack will be the next step. If holiday debt is the issue at hand, then we need to find a way to put your money to work so that it pays off the debt in the fastest and most efficient way possible. Now, there's certainly more than one way to pay off high interest debt. But for our purposes, we're going to talk about two methods that might work for you. The bottom line is that you need some sort of plan to maximize your debt repayments so that you can put your holiday overspending behind you. So the first, and what we call the more powerful one, is called the tiger style. So now please pay attention to the sensei on the screen. Firstly, what you want to do is you want to make a list of all your debts and write down the balance and the APR, or the interest rate. Prioritize these debts, as we've done up here, from the highest APR to the lowest. So the Capital One has an APR of 28.99, while the Visa has an APR of 14.99. Make minimum payments on all your debts except the one with the highest APR, the Capital One in this case. Make the biggest possible payment against the one with the highest APR debt. Keep that up until the debt is gone. Then move on to your next highest APR debt. As you eliminate each debt, you free up more money to pay off the next. So really, this accelerates the whole process until you reach zero on all of your balances. So now I'm going to hand it over to Ben to talk about another style that might work better for you, but really it's up to you to pick which one works best.
Sure. So if Tiger Style works well for you, if you have some free money or you've sold some of those valuables, you're driving for a car sharing service, mowing lawns, whatever it is, that could work for you. But if you take a look at that and you think, you know what, that's not going to work for me, maybe you don't have that kind of payment to put down, maybe you're just looking for an easier win, you might want to take a look at the crane style. You know, you kind of peck away at your smallest debts. You want to gain some momentum, gain some confidence. Start targeting the lowest balance. So again, using that same example, crane style would look something like this. So the lowest balance that we have is $826, and it's at the lowest interest rate. So that's perfect. So we see here, we put that same, $400 payment on that. In 2-3 payments, you're going to be able to pay that one off. Again, using your extra money from paying that debt off, putting it onto your next debt, the MasterCard here. Now you're going to be able to build that momentum, start knocking off your lowest balance debts, and start getting those wins. So like Jeff said, it really doesn't matter which style you pick, but you need to commit to a cure. You need to stop the bleeding. So we need to come up with some sort of a plan. Next we'll talk about, that might not necessarily be just as easy. So, just because some of the stuff you saw here today looks simple, a budget, how can I, tackle my highest interest debts or my lowest balances, that sort of thing. Those are simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. You need to start somewhere, and you need to start doing it today. So if you need help, there are people out there that are ready to speak to you. A certified nonprofit credit counselor would love to talk to you. They can go over a monthly budget snapshot with you. They can recommend areas for savings. If they see any areas where you might be overspending, they could highlight that, make suggestions. So if debt is an issue, the credit counselor can also go over a detailed debt assessment with you. They'll recommend a plan. Maybe it's the Tiger style. Maybe it's, some sort of an insolvency or a bankruptcy. Hopefully not. But either way, they're going to come up with some sort of a plan for you. And of course, you might have a trusted financial advisor, someone you're okay speaking about your money with. So maybe you want to speak to them, let them know your situation. Maybe they can help you manage your money and develop a plan to avoid or even pay off debt. But the most important thing to remember is that there is help out there. All you need to do is ask for it. And Jeff, was there anything you wanted to add to getting help?
No, not at this time. I mean, truthfully, I think you've covered everything, but I think going back to what we said earlier on, the key is to start today. Let's not put it off any longer. And if you're having trouble managing one of the styles that we talked about, or even putting a budget together, there are some great resources out there. Just search on the web, or you can go to consolidatedcredit.ca and reach out to a counselor in that way, and they'll be able to get you started at no cost.
Great. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll just do a couple of questions. We get the same questions, so some we should take some time to go over. One would be, and we hear it quite often, is I have no money at all. I've got nothing. I used credit to pay for all of my holiday shopping, buy all the presents, and now I'm in over my head. Where do I start? So Jeff, for someone who's feeling overwhelmed like that, what would you recommend?
Well, you got to start somewhere. I mean, putting your head in the sand is not the way to go. And if we really take a close look at our budget, we probably all have some sort of room to save. We have to start with something like entertainment or food. Is there any way we can save on that? Maybe we're cutting down on our meat intake or some of the more expensive grocery items just to try and save some money there. And you're also going to need to make debt repayment a priority. And it's got to be right up there with food, shelter, and utilities. And can you pay your debt payment first, make it your first payment, and better yet, make it invisible and automatic? And what we mean by that is it's going to be a line item in your budget. So why not make it a priority and have it automatically deducted out of your paycheck each and every month? And then you've got to manage with the rest of the money that you have available to yourself. And this is something that you can easily set up at your bank or even through your online banking. So whether it's $5 or $500, what matters is that you start today. And that really is creating the behavior. And that kind of leads us to our next question.
Sure. And this is a question I get a lot when I'm out doing my workshops and seminars. And it's, should I save money or should I pay off my debt? What should be my priority? Jeff?
So the answer there is really yes, Ben. And you want to do both if you can, but let me elaborate on it. Many people go into debt because they have no emergency savings, and this is a big one. Life is going to happen. Regardless of what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent, life is still going to happen, and it can be expensive when it does. You're going to have something happen that's unexpected, but if you've built up some sort of emergency savings before the emergency, then you're not going to have to finance it with your home or anything else. You're not going to have to go in further into debt to pay off that car repair or that emergency leak in the roof or that medical issue. You're not going to have to pay it off with a credit card or a loan because you've built up some sort of emergency savings. So in effect, that's going to prevent you from going into debt. So it is important to actually do both, to pay off debt and put a little bit aside for some emergency savings further down the road.
Great. Well, if you had any other questions, feel free to connect with us. Thanks for watching. You can catch us on Facebook or tweet us on Twitter. You can also contact us at the number below or send an email to that email address. Or like Jeff said, you can head over to consolidatedcredit.ca. We've got a lot of great free resources in the Debt Learning Center there. So take some time there. If you need help coming up with a budget or figuring out a plan for your situation, please give us a call, speak to a nonprofit credit counselor. And like we said, there's no cost for any of that. So that's all for now. Thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your day.